Hello and good morning, everyone. This is Jack Blanchard. I'm Playbook's managing editor and author. It is Tuesday, May the 6th, and I'm here once again with Politico's White House bureau chief, Dasha Burns. Hello, Dasha. How are you doing?
Good morning.
We are going to talk about everything that is driving the day. And once again, this morning, that is very much the economy, because Mark Carney, the newly re-elected, can you be re-elected if you've never been elected before? Not sure. Prime Minister
Anything
of Canada
goes these
is in
days.
town.
Rule
It
book's
really
out the window.
does. It really does. The new and existing Prime Minister of Canada is in town, Mark Carney, and he'll be meeting Donald Trump for the first time since his success in the Canadian election last week. That will be the main event of the day. We've seen this so many times before now, the leader being wheeled into the Oval Office and doing this weird sort of spray with the reporters there. That will be happening around lunchtime today. There are other pressing trade-related things to watch out for today as well. Before we start to talk about that I will just flag for you at 8:30 this morning. The Commerce Department is releasing some new data on international trade for March. That's pretty interesting to watch for, given the way that trade is obviously being affected so much by Donald Trump's policies. At 10 a.m., Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, is before a House committee. Everyone who's interested in trade will be watching that as well. And the US Trade Representative Jameson Greer is speaking over at this elite conference in California that we saw Scott Bessent at yesterday. So loads of different trade-related things to watch out for, and that's without all the drama that's happening in the Middle East at the moment, all the drama that's happening in Congress at the moment. We're going to focus on Carney, Dasha, because he is the guy in the White House today, and obviously the history of Donald Trump
in the
and
White
Canada
House, in the hot seat. Yeah.
The history of Canada and Donald Trump for the last few months has been a pretty rocky one. Will they be looking forward to this meeting in the White House today? Is this something to be anticipated?
Well, look, I think for Carney, yes and no. I mean, I think this is a critical one for him and much higher stakes for Canada than for the US. I'll be honest, as we've been reporting out sort of the prep for this meeting, Carney is not that much on President Trump's mind. There's a lot going on for President Trump. He doesn't have a strong relationship with Carney. He doesn't hate him. He doesn't like him. He said earlier this week or last week, he recently said he thinks, it's going to be a nice meeting. He thinks he's a good guy. Typical sort of Trump platitudes about people he doesn't really know that well. So this is potentially dangerous, potentially productive for Carney, but for Trump, it's kind of just another foreign leader coming to his house.
I love that. Potentially dangerous, potentially productive. That's pretty much it for every leader who turns up here. And obviously we saw with Zelensky how wrong these things can go. Right. Like that was obviously the worst one we've seen so far. Could it get that bad today? I mean, they've obviously, with all the stuff about the 51st state and everything, it's not impossible it kicks off.
No. And look, the 51st state thing, Trump's been saying it obsessively. That doesn't necessarily mean that, he's going to be sending troops into Canada. I mean, he told Kristen Welker that, that's not where he's going with this. But it is a sign that he is likes to sort of bully the northern neighbor, wants to assert his dominance there. Certainly his relationship with Trudeau was not very good. And so Carney does kind of start with an upper hand there. Like, the relationship's not bad and Trump's open to it being good. And when you come and if you come with a certain kind of respectful, with some would say grovelly attitude, he's generally receptive to that and is ready to have conversations. I think it all depends on how Carney decides to approach this president who has been a bully to his country, and yet he also needs to have a good relationship with, because a whole lot of other stuff, including, the economy depends on it.
Pretty interesting moment for Mark Carney. A guy I know quite well, or at least I've covered him quite a lot, because he was the Bank of England governor back in the 2010s during the Brexit years when I was writing.
So you should
Playbook
really
over
brief
there.
Trump on this meeting.
I'm not sure he'd listen to me. But it's an interesting thing, because in that role, Mark Carney was supposed to have no politics at all. He was an apolitical central bank governor, and suddenly Brexit was sort of thrust upon him, and he became this political figure, even though he wasn't allowed to be one, because it was painfully obvious to everyone that he is what he is, a liberal, pro-free markets, pro-free trade, internationalist kind of guy. And the Brexiteers absolutely hated him for it. And Carney found himself trying to sort of, what he saw was mitigate, the worst effects of Brexit, which, in those days, you weren't even allowed to suggest there was a terrible effect of Brexit, or the Brexiters would be right down your throat, which is what happened to him. And so he found himself sort of trying to manage this sort of anti-free trade situation. Now you fast forward a few years, and essentially he's doing the same thing again, but in a completely different
Deja
context.
vu, Mark Carney.
Exactly. It seems to be his life's mission is to combat this wave of anti-free trade movement that has spun around the Western world over the last 10 or 15 years, and it's happening again today.
Can I ask you this then, because you have such knowledge of this, knowing how he managed this before, for Trump so often, style can really beat substance. Like if you go in with the wrong style, the substance falls apart. But even if it's good for Trump, if you go in with the right style, even if the substance isn't exactly what he wants to hear, he might be more receptive. So how do you think Carney goes about this?
I think Carney can do style quite well. He's not the most exciting guy, but he's got that chiseled jaw, blue eye thing going on. You could imagine Trump saying he's straight out of central casting in that famous Trump phrase. He knows how to handle difficult politicians. He's been doing it in the UK for years. So I suspect he can ride this one out quite well. Could be proven completely wrong in the next few hours, but I suspect that he can give the sort of answers that Trump wants to hear, and that this won't blow up in the way that you might have thought it would, given the President of the United States has effectively threatened to invade his country a few times over the last few months, if I can say that in such a jovial way.
We can't laugh, we'll cry.
Right. If the danger for Trump, if there is one, is that the same issues that we've been talking about around his tariff policies still exist today, just as they did yesterday. This stuff about kids not being able to get as many dolls and all the rest of it. Those questions are going to be thrown at him in front of Mark Carney, and Mark Carney is very clear where he stands on this stuff. Donald Trump's in a different position, and in a different position to the public if you look at the polling.
Yeah, no, that's right. And we're going to be watching that once again play out very, very publicly.
You bet. Do you think the other thing that Donald Trump will surely be asked about will be the ongoing crisis in the Middle East, because this press conference will be an opportunity for, not quite a press conference, whatever we call them, will be an opportunity for journalists to ask him about that. Do you think Trump will be sort of calm and relaxed about the sort of thing that Netanyahu is talking about doing in Gaza, or do you think we might see some space between him and Netanyahu on this?
We really have not seen a whole lot of daylight between the two men. It's certainly not publicly. Now, private conversations, they may both press each other a little bit harder, but in public, I mean, I was in the East Room when Trump said in front of Netanyahu the idea of creating the Middle East Riviera in Gaza, right? And Netanyahu barely flinched. And when he was asked about it, he said, Trump has ideas, right? So I don't know that we'll see a lot of public daylight between them. And on this privately, I mean, Trump has said over and over again, and I think this is really how he feels. He really feels like this war would never have started if he were president. And he wants to be the guy that fixes the things. Whether he can be or not is the question, right? But he likes the idea. So if he can be seen as lending a hand in both the humanitarian support while also strongly supporting Israel, that's the position he wants to take, because that's also very much where his base is, and they have done a lot to really go after people who are in support of the Palestinian cause. We've seen what they've done with these universities and whatnot. So this is, for an issue that's not cut and dry for a lot of the public, it is pretty cut and dry for this White House.
Yeah, for sure. But much like the Ukraine thing, you think Trump's overriding aim is to be the guy that finds a path to peace that his previous presidents have failed to do.
He wants to be. I mean, with Ukraine and Russia, he's getting pretty fed up with both leaders. His relationships aren't as strong with those two as they have been with Bibi Netanyahu. So that's sort of the big difference in terms of what the outcome might actually be, and how quickly he sort of gets tired and weary of getting involved in one conflict versus the other.
You bet. Do you think Donald Trump enjoys these occasions? There seems to be something almost every day in the White House where he's just inviting the journalists in and he's taking the question for everyone. What is it that other leaders that I've covered in the past are nowhere near as accessible like this? This sort of occasion that we're going to see today will be something that happens every few weeks at best. Here, it's a daily occasion.
Well,
What is it?
he loves pomp and circumstance. So, when foreign
Right.
leaders come and they get to do the whole formality of the meeting and the greeting and the press in the room, he's been doing a lot with sports recently, bringing people in. I mean, he also has like a real affinity for the White House itself and making it his own. We've seen him make some changes. We saw in that ABC News interview him showing Terry Moran all of the beautification that he had done to the Oval Office. So
I'm not sure that's the word everyone would use, but yeah.
I'm quoting from our president, but yeah, and this is you're hearing a lot of sort of talk and criticism and support of this military parade that he wants to have. He loves the pomp and circumstance. He loves a show. At the end of the day, he is a showman. That's what he made his name on, and continues to do so in the Oval.
And we have no choice but to attend the show today. All right, thank you very much.
We're all watching the show. We are in the theater and we can't get out.
You bet. Okay, we'll leave it there for today. Thank you. You can find more of this conversation by listening to Playbook Daily Briefing wherever you get your podcasts. For more of our thoughts on this and anything else you need to know today, please read Playbook. Go and read it. It's at politico.com/playbook. I'm Jack Blanchard. That was Dasha Burns. Thank you, Dasha.
Have a good one, guys.
All right. Thanks very much for listening. We'll see you tomorrow.